Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Damn Parenting, your English-speaking parenting podcast from Amsterdam. We are your hosts, Maren and
Eva.
On this week's episode, we will be talking to Dr. Naomi Gibson, our resident psychologist, who is back with us. And leading from last week, where we had Gemma and our wonderful launch event at the Mama Social, we thought this would be a good episode to follow and talk about the village with someone who knows a little better about the psychological effects of building a community and the village, and also her comments on this topic, because Eva and I had a chat about what does the village mean to us, how do we define it, or what are the struggles that we as international families living abroad encounter when building the village. And we had a very intense discussion before what it means to us.
It was one of those things that in my head, I have an idea of what a village is. And when I was speaking to Maren about it, we had a very different way of thinking about it. And I don't know if it's because of the countries we come from or our cultures or our expectations or movies also probably, or TV shows, God knows. Yeah, it was just that thing that we're kind of like, well, what is a village? And then it's a case of, there is no defined village. And so that's why we were like, hey, let's get Naomi on this topic and let's really kind of go, okay, so what is it? Let's break it down.
And that's what we did. And hopefully you will find this interesting and engaging. And of course, if you have any thoughts on this, to let us know about them, you can do this on Spotify in the comment section, or of course you can reach out to us on Instagram always and let us know what you think about this, or if you have anything that you think would be important for the rest of the community to know. And because we will be picking up this topic on an ongoing basis, because we have already, this comes up with every conversation that we have with other moms or other parents in any context when we get together and we all realize this is the village, you are part of it, and this is where I can find it. So this is going to be a topic that is never that's never finished. So if you have anything to add, let us know. And hopefully you'll enjoy this episode with Dr. Naomi Gibson, our resident psychologist. Today, I'm so thrilled to have Dr. Naomi Gibson back, our resident psychologist, on this podcast. And this episode, we want to dive more into the question, what is this freaking village? How are we going to find it? How are we going to thrive in it? And how can we actually build it up as a support system for us, for our family, and of course also for the people within the village. And we want to redefine this mysterious village today a little bit, because I think there's a lot of different opinions, expectations, and of course questions about this whole phrase. What does it mean to build a village, especially for us expats coming from different countries, different cultures, bringing our own expectations of the village into our new environment and having these questions of, do I still belong to the village back in my home country? Do I belong to this new village that I'm building up here? And am I even going to stay here? Is it even worth it for me to build this village here? Or how can I cultivate the village? And if I'm moving to another place, how can I still keep these relationships that I've built here with the physical village when I move abroad or I move back to my home country, and incorporate the different members of my global village that I will build at one point? Yeah, so let's dive straight into it. And we've had some thoughts on this mysterious village that we're all trying to build. So maybe Eva, you want to share a little bit about your experience with how you built the village here and what your questions were when you were in the process of, or I guess we're all still in the process of building it. It's never done, but what your questions about this whole topics were.
Well, for me, I've been living in Amsterdam for a while. My biggest thing before being pregnant was you make friends with people and then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened way too many times. And I got really close with a few people and they left. And I was kind of like, okay. And it got to the stage where I just was like, I'm just not bothered anymore. It's hard enough to integrate into meeting the local people or whatever, because I made some great local Dutch friends, but they all left Amsterdam when they became pregnant. And so none of them are in the city and I'm left. So becoming a mom, the platform that most of us use, which is the Amsterdam Mamas Facebook group, This is back in 2020. I logged onto that. I was thinking, great, this is going to be a great platform. And then through that, that's actually how I met Maren. Mutual friend of ours created this group, to be like, hey, does anyone want to meet up? So I was thinking, okay, this is my literally only option. It was also in the middle of COVID. So this is our only option. So I did that, and I met these women, and we sat in a circle, COVID friendly, all at a good distance. And we sat there, and I don't know, I just was like, okay, are these meant to be my new friends? And I kind of remember looking around kind of like, to me, it's like when you have a child and your child goes to school and then you're forced to be friends with these people. It's your child's friend, but you don't have to be friends with those parents, but you have to be friends with the parents, you have to be all cool. Like, and that's the thing with this group. I was thinking, okay, how's this going to work? And for me, I was like, I know I need support, and I know I'm going to need to talk to people because I can't do this on my own. And I think I'd already Googled the whole bloody Google stratosphere at that stage. So I already kind of knew everything, but didn't know anything because my brain was in a fog. So from that, we created this WhatsApp group. I think there was about 15 of us on it.
Yeah.
And that was it. When everyone started having babies, everyone was up, 24 hours a day having conversations. And I joined in later. I was the last one, I think, to give birth. And that was the biggest comforter I potentially could have had at 3:00, having someone going, oh, I'm watching this right now. And I'm like, what? You're watching TV? It's like, yeah, up feeding the baby, then I got a pump or whatever. And it was like, I felt seen, I think is the only way to put it. In this WhatsApp group, I actually felt seen, and I felt recognized, and I was acknowledged. And that's not something you get with anyone who wasn't exactly in that stage with you. I have friends who've got kids. Most of them are grown up. My own nephews and niece are grown up as well. But I didn't have anyone in the trenches with me. And it's not a war, but it's a battle, as it were. And we're there, and most of us are doing the night shifts because we're breastfeeding or pumping or whatever. So to me, that became my village. And then that's what, for me, became my village of being with people in the moment who were sharing the same kind of feelings and experiences. So if your baby was even a year older, we weren't even aligned. If your baby was a year younger than mine, we weren't aligned. It had to be that period. So for me, that's the village. And like right now, like 3 years on, myself and Maren, 3.5 nearly, myself and Maren are still knocking about with it as well, our mutual friend. We're still in contact with some of our other friends from that group as well. But it got down to the core of technically location as well. Who's still in Amsterdam? Who's available? Are you working 5 days a week? Because I don't see you then, because you want family time of the weekend. So I'm not going to see you. But who's available on other days? It starts knocking down these options of we're all in it together because none of us are working and we're all battling this thing together. But once the babies start to grow up, people go back to work or people are moving abroad or whatever, this starts knocking down what are the chances I'm going to be able to continue this with you. So yeah, that kind of ended up defining my village going into toddlerhood, as it were. And that's where I'm still at now, and still trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step with this village?
Yeah, so for you, it sounds like the village was the practical, people there going through the same life stage. And yeah, I think that's so crucial. When you were talking first, Maren, I was thinking the phrase is, it takes a village to grow a child, or something like that. And that is what feels important to me, like that you have these people who are with you in the trenches, as it were, and they're doing their parenting in different styles perhaps, or whatever. And then you've got your part of your village might be who you pay for. It might be your babysitter, your childcare, your school. And then like part of the village as well is the people who perhaps don't have babies, but they are happy to come and take one for a bit, or to, just thinking about my brother who was in Amsterdam and now isn't, but he's like such a crucial part of our village, of like, he will come and be with the children. And that just feels so beautiful, even those days. It's few and far between now. Yeah, so just having people that can help grow your child, and with that grow you into parenthood, and kind of understand.
That's interesting. I didn't even think of like even paying people, like the babysitter or whatever could be part of your village. That was not it for me.
Yeah, I think because I think of it particularly being, an expat, like what do I need to survive and thrive as a parent here? And, a big proportion of that is childcare. I need to know my children are safe and loved on when they're at school or BSO or at daycare. And yeah, and then that gives you then the bandwidth and the opportunities to kind of make those other relationships and those other friendships. And yeah, historically, that care might have come from grandparents, aunties, or, whoever was living literally in a village. And I think now it's less so, and especially when you're living away from your country of origin.
Yeah, because that was the thing that I read somewhere, I think it was on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and it was basically, we don't have the village because the village was defined maybe 100 years ago when you lived actually in a village and when you had everyone around you. Whereas now we live in different countries, you know, I mean, as you say, like, we don't get to see our family a lot. Like, I get to see maybe a brother once a year kind of thing. It's not as easily. And so it comes down to technical support, technically, like you're on the iPad or the portal or whatever it is. And that's the way you then have a village, as it were, entertain the kids, chat with them for 5 minutes while I'm cooking in the kitchen.
But also thinking about the being online aspect of it, I think, yeah, there's certain podcasts I listen to, or, you know, friends that live in the UK and elsewhere who will send voice notes, and I get the listening part. Yeah, I've got friends who we just voice note each other, and it feels like, yeah, they're part of it. I can share with them the challenges and the joys of the day, but they're not here. And but I feel like they're very much part of my life. And so there's finding people like that are around and can be with you.
When you were talking earlier about being babysitters and paid help being part of the village, that was a big learning curve that I had to take when defining the village as a parent, because in my past relationships, most of the people that I was surrounding myself with privately, I was friends with. So going into this with the mindset, oh, I need to be friends with all these people. I need to have personal relationship with all these people. But then becoming a parent, I had to redefine the village as, like you said, who is going to help me raise my child? And that was a big part then in the switch of, I don't have to be personal friends with everyone, but the babysitter, I pay them so they help me raise my child. So they are part of my support system with this big task of making sure I'm not fucking up this little human here. So to be quite frankly, so this is a big thing. And then literally taking it back to, what does a village mean? So the village I'm living in, I'm not friends with my bakery person. I'm not friends with my barista, but are they going to help me get through my day and make my day a little less harsh? Yes. So I guess this is the same thing for me, it was when I defined and redefined and built this village, going into with the mindset of, how can I get help from this person? Is it going to be on a personal level, like a relationship, like you said, with my sister who doesn't live here, but we have a phone call 3 times a day, video call with my child every day. She sends us, so she's very much present on a personal level, but my child also has a relationship with the babysitter. I'm not friends with my babysitter, but they are a crucial part of the support system that I have here that helps me survive in the city with my village.
I'm still astounded by this part. I'm still kind of like, oh, okay, so they're part of your village, because I would never have thought that. Valid point. So continuing on from last week we interviewed Gemma from Mama Social after our launch of the Damn Parenting podcast. With Gemma, I mean, she herself created Mama Social out of the need, out of seeking like kind of a village, as it were, for her, like trying to find like-minded mamas, or just mamas with like kids in the same bracket, or just people who just want to meet up, because we're in a village. Technically, Amsterdam, to me, it's a city, but it's also a village, because you can cycle both sides of the city in 20 minutes on an electric bike, I'm sure. But I think it's one of those things that we're walking the streets and we're passing by people who are just like us. They've got a kid, they're walking around the streets, pounding the pavement, because they don't know what to do as well. There's not a lot of places you can go to kind of be like, oh, this is where I feel at home, or, this is where I can connect with people. There's scattered places here or there. There's new places that will be growing. But Gemma was like, I just want the moms to have somewhere to go. Like, they can go, they can sit down, they can have good food. Their kids are going to be entertained with Bumble and Tumble. Like, let's connect, let's have a conversation. And so I was so thrilled to read about it when she was posting about it back in April, I think it was, before she launched. And it was such a great idea, and it's really taken off. I think the last week, I think, was sold out like in a matter of hours. That showed like the need.
Yeah, I suppose it speaks to a need for connection, and it might be a Mama Social brunch, but it could also be finding connection with somebody that you see walking around or at the playground, or you might happen upon each other, and it's finding moments where you can feel connected and like you're in it together.
The chances though of meeting someone on the street are really hard. So that's why the mama social is like, okay, you've got the biggest chance, go in here with the open heart and the open head and just be like, okay. Because, you know, when you look at someone, you can't take them for what they are, like, and just, that's when you kind of need to chat. And then you find the common ground, as it were, with the kids. I'm so thankful for Gemma. I think what she's doing is great, because selling out an event in just a matter of hours and then a wait list that was growing daily after that, I just think is phenomenal. But what would your tips be without the mama social? Like, how are we meant to be finding this village, apart from, as you said, if we have our babysitters and anyone who contributes to raising our kids? What is it that is the village then for the mom or for the dad or equally for the child?
Yeah, I think it takes a big dose of being vulnerable to kind of make connections in the same way it will have done if, you know, you started a new job and you have to kind of present yourself as a new person who doesn't know things, and that takes a lot of kind of vulnerability to be that. So, you know, to be brave and say like, hey, looks like we've got kids the same age, should we share numbers? I mean, that is so cringy, and I remember the times that I've done that, but it's really paid dividends, because, you know, I now have those people in my circle, in my connection. Yeah, and just finding people that you can be as close to yourself with. Brené Brown, have you heard of her? Yeah,
of course.
She's a pretty Wonder Woman. She talks about the difference between sort of fitting in and belonging, and fitting in being, you know, adjusting yourself to kind of fit in. And I suppose in parenthood that could look like, I don't know, new mums talk so much about sleep. It could be like, oh, they only slept for this much, or he's eating carrot puree, or, you know, these sorts of fitting in type conversations, versus belonging, which is this finding connections where you just feel like, okay, somebody really gets me, and I don't have to, like, you know, you can turn up in all of your messiness, all of your emotional messiness, and feel that somebody can meet you there. And yeah, those people, you know, they're not everywhere, but they're there to meet and have connection with and feel like, yeah, I belong in this. And going back to that vulnerability again, it does take vulnerability to say like, yeah, I'm finding this particularly hard, or, you know, this is a challenge that we've been facing, or, oh my gosh, I'm so tired and I really need you to come over and help me with bath time. You know, being vulnerable and saying what you need can kind of fuel connection and fuel a sense of belonging wherever that is in the world.
Yeah, this belonging was also battle that I was having with myself when moving here, and then the realization also that I am no longer as a present part in my previous village from home, and now I'm like not a member of this physically anymore. And sometimes I felt a little jealous, like, oh, I'm not included in this anymore, or I'm not part of the conversation anymore, or I'm not part of the decision making here anymore, or even part of the comfort, because I was just not there. But then building this new village here, and then at one point they could interact simultaneously. So I am still a big part of my community back home, and now I'm a big part of the community here, which is also my new home. And this dissonance of these two villages, bringing them, like merging them into this third new reality that I have now, with my past, my present, my future now. Yeah, with the present here and the present people here. And also this, what you said about the intimacy, or like being so intimate with people, like especially when we were in the moms group in our WhatsApp chat. I mean, we got like straight to the core, and we were sending like, does this nipple look normal to you? Sending these super intimate messages and pictures, because we just felt this is the circle where we can share it, because we're all sitting in the same boat, and we're reassuring ourselves, or we're giving ourselves comfort, because we're all, like Eva said, up at 3 a.m. feeding them, and like, hey, who's up? You up? And then you get 5 messages, and it just is it was such a big comforter for me to know I can be so intimate and vulnerable with this group, and they will catch me. I wasn't even sometimes expecting any help. I was just using the room to share and the room to be vulnerable. And that was such a big support in those early stages of motherhood, and is even now a big factor that I've out of this group of, like you said, we had 15 people in the beginning, and now I think I've boiled it down to 4 people that I'm still in close contact with, but we have such a strong bond because we've shared these deep connections and these deep, vulnerable and intimate moments with each other.
And it also takes a big dose of flirting with different kinds of groups and connections as well. Thinking back to my NCT group that I did when I was pregnant with my first in London, and I didn't really feel a lot of connection with those women, but then I did find connections further on down the line at like a baby singing nonsense group. And I'm feeling okay to know it's the same as making friendships at any other point in your life. Sometimes that comes for the reason, you're all in the same workplace and you go out for drinks and you connect by that. And that can be a big fuel in motherhood of just kind of, okay, we're in the same place, let's be friends. And sometimes it needs something more than that, or it needs kind of a deeper kind of connection or more things in common to feel okay with. So to be kind of gentle to yourself, like if you don't make friendships in one forum, there'll be something else that will work for you. Or it might be that you're perhaps somebody that needs, just to see another parent once a week or less than that to feel kind of like you've got your village, whatever that looks like. It's not necessarily constant communication. And
one thing I would then like to put to you. So for example, like I had my little baby in COVID times, not a little baby anymore, she keeps telling me. One thing for me is it's an exhausting experience. That's the truth. It's a very exhausting experience, especially in the first year. When you're so tired, and we've all seen those memes where this is how I look when I'm tired, and you still leave the house, even though you don't look like anything you would ever let yourself go out the house looking like prior to pregnancy. But you are so tired. It's just the fact that having to actually invest in a friendship, having to actually put yourself out there takes so much strength, takes so much effort. And the reality is sometimes we don't have that. We don't have that capacity. Like we are literally empty of milk in our breasts, empty of brain capacity, empty of food from our belly. We have nothing left to give. That's the core moment when we actually need people. And the thing is, how can we bring ourselves out of that to kind of be how do we either figure out a way to kind of look, if you feel this really bad, just do this, or is there something that you're thinking okay, even if you feel at your worst or whatever, there is still a place you can still go to, or there's something you can still do for yourself?
The first thing that's come into my mind is how crucial connection is. Last episode we spoke about your basic needs of food and eating, and connection is one of those. Really, it's a human need, especially when we're feeling low, to be able to reach out to whoever that is and for somebody to meet you there and to be I felt that way before, or I'm sorry, or let's go and get a cup of tea, to be able to connect in that loneness. So that it's really hard to think at that particular moment that you need to go out and make new friends. And it might not be about making new friends, but it might just be smiling at another person whilst you're also walking along with a buggy and thinking I'm not alone in this. Or I remember doing middle of the night feeds with my baby when she was a baby, and just being there are other people awake in the world. I know there's people literally in Australia awake, or there's people down the road feeding their babies as well, and feeling okay, we're all humans, we're connected. And that might not necessarily perk you back up, but it will give you some kind of strength to maybe the next day think, okay, where can I go and what can I do with my baby to make yourself feel better. And I think also finding whoever your friendships and connections are, whoever your village is, people that you can turn up and be in all of your messiness. And that might be literally looking like you've been pulled through the hedge backwards, or actually just in all your sort of emotional messiness, and being somebody who's a human first, and working out motherhood as you go along, and having people that are okay with that and that are that way themselves. I remember a brilliant moment when my daughter was maybe 6 months old or so, and there was this woman that I had seen consistently, and her baby was always in white, real lovely cashmere. She always looked perfect. She was just, to me, oh, this mum has got it kind of thing. And just keep seeing each other and then saying hey, you've got babies similar age, those connections building. And her and I just having this moment of vulnerability of being my baby doesn't sleep well either, and I was up every 45 minutes in the night, and fuck, this is really hard. And just feeling I had put her someplace she didn't exist. To me, she was the makeup wearing white cashmere baby thing, and she was nope, I haven't got this. Putting makeup on for her was like her way of finding some semblance of control. And as soon as we had that moment of vulnerability, I was like, yeah, you're my friend. We can do this. We can be connected. And yeah, I think just finding moments like that and realizing that everybody's going to have their own version of hard, and it might not look the same to you, and you might find different ways of managing that hardness as you go along.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, and it's a horrible thing, it's the judgment that we all have, judging a book by its cover, as it were.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we all try to say, oh, we're not going to judge, but at the end of the day, it's a natural thing, that it's a basic instinct, I guess, of humankind, that you have to judge to kind of say, am I safe or not? And that's the core. And then from there, we're developing onto, are you my kind of people or not?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to do it when you're in such a multicultural space of a lot of people, and people bring in their personalities and their vivaciousness, and you never know, like, as you say, this woman who's got makeup and that's her way of dealing with things, and then your way of dealing with things is so much different. So I definitely see myself in that I always look to moms when I'm passing them by and give them the nod of, all right, how are you, kind of thing, but you're kind of passing by going, I wonder what they are going through. Or like, are we the same?
Yeah, I just make a basic assumption that someone's having a hard day in whatever way that, if you've got children, they'll be part of your day which was hard, and maybe that's the whole day.
That's actually how I've turned it into, is I automatically go, you're doing a great job. Like, in my head, when I see people doing it, I'm like, good for you. You're doing a great job. Like, keep going. Like, if they've got 1, 2, or 3 kids, it's one of those things that I automatically go into a positive reflection to be like, just keep going. You can do this. And I sometimes I see the same woman walking around the same area as me, and she just looks like, this has been for 3 years. She's still walking around the same area. And it's like, I know it's hard in you. Like, and I in some ways I want to go, you're not alone. In some ways I want to reach out and be like, hey, but at the same time, I also know I don't have that capacity, because I've been doing so much other different things in my life. And it's a case of, I feel sometimes like, oh, I want to take care of you and you're not alone. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't have the capacity to be that person's fallback, as it were. Yeah. If you know what I mean? Because so
sometimes that you're not alone just looks like a wave or a smile or a recognition, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think this is also such a crucial part of this parenthood and motherhood village, these random strangers, put them in quotations, that pass through your life or your daily life, but these little moments can mean so much. And I've really started, since I've heard this from someone else who did it, she was seeing a mom struggling with her 2 kids, and like the mom was sweating and it was like a total mess, and she was just trying to hold it together. And then this woman came to her and said, you're doing a good job. It's all right. And she just looked at her, and this sentence just meant so much to her. So now I've really started doing this. When I see someone struggle, I've had this at the playground. The kid was like going bananas. The mom was not having it, and she was just having such a hard time. And I just went over and I said, man, this is fucking hard, right? Like, this is hard to deal with. And she said, yes, it's so hard. But we had this 30 seconds of interaction, but this connection of, I see you and you are doing a good job, and it's okay that it's hard, and it's okay that you're not feeling great, but I see you, you're seen. And that just meant so much to her. And also to me, having the courage to not just think this in my head, oh man, this is really hard, she's having a hard time, but actually going to her and telling her. And then it was such a reward for both of us, because it was a reward for me showing, yes, it is good that I'm overstepping like my fear of, oh, can I tell this to this random stranger that I will probably never see again? And for her, hearing this from a random stranger that she will probably never see again, and have this brief moment of, we see each other and it's okay.
Yeah, it's like life-saving sometimes. Just be like, yeah, I feel seen. Can give you the momentum to carry on and do the hard some more.
That was actually something myself and Maren discussed previously about this episode. Was I heard this saying, I can't remember the name of it. It's kind of like, it goes something like, people come into your life for reasons, seasons, and years, or something like that, or a lifetime. And this is exactly it, is like just that minute interaction. Or like we were saying, we had a big WhatsApp group when we were all about to give birth, and there was 15 of us, and we were in that period in the trenches for maybe 6-month periods, like the really deep trenches. And then there were other people who are lasting longer. And it's just, one of the things was, it's okay that sometimes people are only there for a certain period, and it's okay if you're not finding that connection as well, that you don't need to keep investing in that person if you're kind of really kind of like, well, we're going in different directions here, you know, either you move into a different country or, you know, you've moved out of the city or whatever it is. But it's just a case of, how can you tell when, is there a way you can tell people to be like, it's okay, that it's a case of, hey, know that you're not going to be connected with this person for the rest of your life. You're not going to be as close as you are right now in this moment. But like, is there a way that you can explain?
Well, I think that season thing, this is the season of babyhood or pregnancy, or the season of young families, or the season when you live in Amsterdam or whatever. And yeah, there'll be people there that you are helping you get through it, and they might not be your lifelong friends, and it's really okay. And I've totally changed my attitude to that as well, because, you know, I'm somebody who's still friends with school friends and stuff. So I like really wanted friendships, and I feel like having connections is more helpful. Like, there's people who I feel really connected to, like friends, and there's some people who are like, yeah, we will have a lovely chat at the playground, and that is enough. We don't have to go any more than that, and that's helped with that hour at the playground. And I think just kind of being kind to yourself about that, like, it's okay, you don't have to find your best mates, you're finding people who are in your village helping you do the best that you can do and get through it.
I think this ties back to the very beginning of the episode where we said I had this picture in my head, the village, you need to be related to the people, they need to be your closest family members, they need to be very attached to you and long years of friendships and relationships. But now it's different. Now it is the connections, and then some grow into relationships, but some are this little butterfly that just pass through your day, give you a little smile, give you a little ease for 30 seconds, or the hour on the playground can be so long and so freaking lonely. So if you have 1 hour of a nice chat, then that's great. And then this person was someone passing through your village and helping you raise this child for this hour a little more patient, a little more relaxed. And then isn't that great? And isn't that what we should thrive for? This, how can I make my life in this situation a little more easier, a little more relaxed, and give me a little more patience? And if this is the 1 hour chat with the random stranger I'm having on the playground, then that's enough for me, I guess. And then they are a part of my village for that day or that hour.
Yeah. And that it's not, this elusive village that we started talking about is not something more than what it is with, you know, these connections, these passing connections or deeper connections. It's not 5 friends that text each other every day and go out on the weekends or blah, blah, you know, maybe that does look like that, and that would be equally nice. But yeah.
Can we find a different way to say the village? Is there another word we can say? Because honestly, like the village, it's everywhere. People are using those stupid Instagram things of like, oh, you know, people tell me about the village, you know, I'm meant to call it or whatever. Is there another way we can say it? Because I'm like, it's not a village, because it's technology, it's random moments that we're meeting in playgrounds, it's, you know, community centers or WhatsApp groups or whatever. Is there another way we can put this? Because it really frustrates me that we've used this term, and some people, like I did, technically grabbed onto it and went, oh, this is what a village is, so therefore this is what I expect. And now years down the line, I'm like, oh, it could be a playground hour. It could be a comment at a shopping center, like when my daughter's having a tantrum or whatever it could be, or, you know, whatever it might be. Is there another way we can phrase this than that instead? Is there another word you can magically come up with? No pressure or anything.
Yeah, no pressure. Marketing is not my background.
On the spot.
Because
I have to say, I think village works. I think it does. I think if you think about a village, small people's houses, there's lots different things going on within the houses. There'll be a pub, there'll be a bakery, there'll be these moments where at the school where you have connections, where you meet other people, there'll be services that you're paying for, there'll be, you know, above the village, the internet that you're having connections with. I think everybody is there there to help you raise yourself as a parent and help you raise your child in whatever individual way that looks like.
Okay.
But so if you come up with anything, then that's also fine.
I honestly, no, but the way you're explaining it now is if you take like a bird's eye view of an actual village. So you're actually looking at it as an entirety instead of where I would have been looking at it from inside the village. Where who can I physically touch, and these are my closest people. So yeah, that makes it a lot more digestible for me than if you think about it the way you're putting it. The pub is always a good one, I think. So yeah. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, we've touched the village topic now. We've realized we need to take it from a different perspective, I guess. We need to appreciate it when it comes in a comment from a stranger or a playground discussion, or if it comes in from 3 o'clock WhatsApp calls or dinners or drinks with friends, that they, they're going to blossom, as we said, for reasons and seasons and years. I think hopefully this is going to help some people out there who are kind of touching in on this, kind of trying to figure out what it is. What can I expect? Am I wrong? Am I doing it wrong? But from last week's Mama Social event, I mean, they're always sold out. This is month after month. They're always sold out because these women are wanting connections, and they're coming with very young babies to toddlers. And I myself was going without my child, but we're all out there. We're all looking for connections. So I think maybe we just reach out to the next person we see. Maybe we do make that comment to someone we're passing by. Maybe that's what we're going to have to do for each other now. Anyone who's listening, just take that one shot. You've listened to this podcast. Now, when you're out walking and you see a person, just go, hey, damn parenting, eh? Just keep walking past.
Yeah, it's like drop the line, like just this comment. And maybe this can be an exercise for the listeners out there for until the next episode. Can we make it a habit of every day we can find one person or one parent that we can just say, I see you, or have a good day, or you're doing good. Like this one sentence that takes 5 seconds, but might carry such a long way for the other person and really can change maybe not their day, but this 5-second encounter and just make it a nice one within their day. And I guess this could be a good exercise for all of us. We see you out there. We see you.
A warm smile can go
exactly
a long, long way.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That was super insightful. It was such a lovely chat, and also hearing all the different perceptions of the village and what it means to, even you've heard that it means something different, or it meant something different for Eva and me. And I'm sure there's lots of other perceptions of your own village out there for everyone who's listening. And that was a super lovely chat. I've taken away so many good, sparks that I can carry on now for the next week. And it was always lovely chatting with you, Naomi. And we hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
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 Well, I tried to get a new phrase out of Naomi, but obviously we're going to stick with village. So there has been your episode with Dr. Naomi, our resident psychologist. A few good learnings, I think.
Yeah. And one thing that was really stood out to me was this whole point of really be open to what the village can look like, and be open to all the options. Because like we discussed in the episode, sometimes you have this expectation of this is how it should look like, and then you're only focusing on this picture that you already have in your head of this is how I have to recreate it, and then you miss out on these opportunities. Like we said, who is part of the literal village? Like person at the coffee stand, the mom sitting next to you in the sandpit, like these little interactions that help shape the village in forms that we might not even think of when we sit down and someone says, define the village, or in your head. And that was really one learning that I took away, going into situations and going into my daily life with this open perspective and with this open view of, is there anyone that I can connect for this, like we said, 1 or 2 seconds? Every little drip into this connection cup is filling it up, and as long as your cup is full, you can enjoy this fullness of the connections, and you can carry this feeling into your relationships, into your parenting, and all these situations where that you can use this as a source of energy and as a positive affirmation in your daily life. So I think that was really the biggest learning that I took away from this interview. Be open to the little moments, and the little moments of connection, and the little moments of support, because sometimes a smile, like I remember this so clearly. My child was having a massive tantrum in the middle of the street, totally crazy. Like it was so busy, and I could not get her or me under control. And I just saw someone just smiling at me, and that was this little burst of energy where I was like, okay, I got this. And it's really these split seconds, a smile that can carry you a long, long way. With that, smile to a stranger, reach out to the person next to you in the sandpit. I know it's awkward, and we had this conversation with Gemma, remember?
It's very awkward.
In the interview, she said, awkward is it? And I know it is so freaking awkward, but always remember, this is going to fill up your cup. This is going to fill up your energy, and this is going to fill up your reserve when you need it in times when it's tough, when you're lonely, when you're stressed, and when you don't have energy to fill up this connection cup.
Yeah. And the other thing for me was, I think I just had pure blinkers on, and I really was so rigid on what a village was actually meant to mean. And then when she's like, yeah, your childcare could be part of your village. And I was like, I don't have one. Like, oh, I'm like, these are all options I never thought of. And at the end of the day, we have to take care of ourselves, and to take care of ourselves sometimes means, you know, stepping outside the box of what you think, oh, this is what a good mom should be. I should be a stay-at-home. I should take care of my child. You know, this is what makes, you know, it's not for everyone. You know, everyone has different needs, and we really need to start attuning and listening to ourselves to go, how can I, you know, find peace within myself, and how can I reinvigorate myself and feel, able, you know, and and how do I feel like me as well? You know, how do I go back to finding myself, my identity, my persona, who I am? And that could be in many different ways. And so, yeah, that was a good learning for me as well, that I'm going to be exploring, I guess, in the future.
Yeah. I'm so blissful. Every time after an episode with Naomi, I feel like I have a private therapy session. I always feel like I have these learnings, and you're like, oh yes, okay, now I can take this into my daily life, and now, oh, this is how I can translate all this what I just heard and integrate it. And yeah, I always just feel very calm and collected after an interview with Naomi. So I'm so happy that we have her on, and I hope this is also a big resource for you and a big resource of knowledge, what she brings to the table.
I mean, you're getting free therapy basically on a podcast.
Exactly.
So
yeah, but to keep this going, now we slide into the advertisement part. To keep this going, as always, please make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from, and give us a 5-star review, because that really helps us getting seen. And also on Spotify, there's the comment section now. If you want to engage with us for the individual episodes, this is also an option. And of course, like, share. I'm saying this again because you have to say how many times? 7 times until something really hits your brain. So I'm going to say it again. Please subscribe and support us. Share these episodes with whoever you think should be listening to this. And yeah, we're happy to hear from you. And as always, hear you on the next episode. And that's it for now. Bye.
bye.